Alright, so everyone seems to be loving this new Storm Force of Nature card, and I love it too, but I love it for a different reason. And I see a lot of people building this, and my least favorite way to play is spell slinging. That is not my playstyle. I don't like it. I am not an Izzet player. It's not what I do. And obviously a lot of people are going to build this deck to do that because it has Storm, so you're going to want to like play a bunch of spells and then storm off, and you want to play opt and draw 9 cards and stuff like that. I'm more of a fan of like creature combos, so I want to build Storm in a creature combo shell, and I'm not here to say that it's better or worse, but it's definitely a different take on this deck than you're going to see from a lot of other people. And when I started seeing other people's deck lists, I'm just like, okay, I gotta do this because I'm clearly looking at this card from a different angle. So let me show you what I'm thinking with this. So let's build this one kind of right here. I got as our base here. So here's our like 61 cards that is just like cEDH staples. Like there's nothing kind of off the wall going on here. It's just all of your fast mana, Heuristic Study, Underworld Breach, Mystic Remora, the One Ring, Artifact Mana. Mana Dorks, we're in green, so we gotta run Mana Dorks, so you know, things like Orcish Lumberjack and Birds of Paradise, Light of Halfling, Tinderwall. I'm going with Wild Cantor, it's a little off the wall, but whatever, it's kind of here. I feel like, where did that guy go? Polywog Prodigy? I don't know if a year it's quite a staple, but in a deck that's running a lot of creatures, I think it's kind of a staple in this particular kind of deck. Like, you could argue whether it's like a cEDH staple or not. I guess the other weird card here is we have Infernal Plunge, but once again, we're running a bunch of creatures, so we're getting a bunch of mana. Lands or whatever. If we build this deck for reals, we'll like make the lands what they need to be. For now, we're just gonna say 27 command towers, and we'll see if we need to adjust that a little bit. My goal here, instead of doing spell slinging, where I'm gonna play a spell, that's gonna draw a spell, that's gonna let me play a spell and draw a spell and metamorphose and draw a spell and play a spell and blah, 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 blah. I want to be able to just have like a single card that I can just play over and over and over again. And we're in green, so you know how we do that? Aluren. That's right, we're doing Aluren combos here. Aluren. So what we want to do here is we want to get something like Shrieking Drake. And now you have Shrieking Drake and Aluren, and you just went infinite. You played infinite spells. So your storm count is now infinite. So all you gotta do is hit with storm and then have any instant or sorcery that's gonna deal damage or make people mill or make people draw a card. Like whatever your win con is at that point, it kind of doesn't super matter. But you use storm and you have an infinite storm count, storm with storm, infinite storm count, and then whatever instant or sorcery you play is just going to win the game. So it could just be like Lightning Bolt, and that's just going to win the game, and that works that way. But let's kind of dig into this a little deeper. So we have Aluren. The other option that we could do is we can kind of make our creatures our win con. So we can do something like this guy. Witty Roastmaster. So whenever a creature enters the battlefield, where'd that guy go? Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, he deals one damage to each opponent. So with Aluren, we're already kind of there because it's like all we gotta do is we have Aluren, we have a creature that bounces itself for free, Witty Roastmaster. So all this is happening for free, so we can kind of do this. The instant or sorcery that we want to play is going to also get us to we can get our infinite combo. So what we want to do is we want to play Eldritch Evolution. So here's where I'm going to take this in I think from a veering path here. Using something like Eldritch Evolution or Neoform, we're going to be able to turn our creatures into the creatures that we want, so we can win from a couple different angles here. We're going to be able to win by just like playing infinite creatures, and that could be our win, where we just kind of get there and we're able to do that. Or we do it where we can get an infinite storm count, and then we can then play our spell to like in the game. So we're going to run stuff, just like little stuff here, like things like Gut Shot. Remember, this is a Rogsai meta, so we need to be able to deal with the Rogsai. So things like Gut Shot is actually pretty good. We're also going to run, like speaking of that, we're going to run Lava Spike. So that's something that you can play from your graveyard. So that's not the card I want. Lava Dart. I'm like, wait a second, that doesn't look right. Lava Dart. So there you go. So you can play this from your graveyard. So if you happen to play this early because you need to hit a Rog, you hit the Rog, and then later on you can flush this back after you've gone infinite, and then Storm deals damage, and then you just Lava Dart for your graveyard, and that's game. So it kind of gives you that I like this like secondary thing where it's like you're able to do other things. Because obviously you could do things like expropriate or like big extra turn spells, but all those cost like 5. So it's like you kind of need the mana. Like granted we have mana coming out of our ears over here, but we kind of want to use that mana to push our game plan forward, to kind of like get there a little bit faster. So another thing that we're going to run, I'm a little all over the place here, but that's okay, is I want to run Leer. In a weird way, this is kind of almost acting like a... I was just poo-pooing like 5 mana cost, but we're going to be able to cheat this guy out, so that's okay. Because he gives all our spells in our graveyard, all our instants and sorceries, flashback. So once again, this is going to be a good way where we can just kind of like play something from our graveyard to win the game. Because if you can use like an Eldritch Evolution, and then you can get yourself a Leer, and then Storm attacks, and then you can replay Eldritch Evolution. Like, granted, that's 6 mana, but like that's going to be another way to kind of get us there. But Leer can also let you play Gutshot and Lava Dart. It's kind of, you know, it's working kind of like an Underworld Breach. We can go Spellseeker, obviously. Spellseeker's pretty good, because that's going to be able to get us the instant or sorcery we need, and it can get us something that's super cheap. So we can go Imperial Recruiter, which can get us a creature. We can also go Micromancer. I might cut this in the future, but I kind of like the idea, because Micromancer is just another creature that seeks out a instant or sorcery, so it seeks out a little one, so you can get the Gutshot or the Lava Dart. Where did that thing go? Where did Micromancer go? Micromancer. So, you know, you search for something that costs 1. You know, this is a card that might get cut in the end, but I kind of like it here in this concept. Another thing we could do, speaking of like going infinite and getting like infinite creatures, making infinite creatures, we just do this. We're already kind of on this path. We just go Food Chain. And then we go Squee. So once again, that's like another way to play an infinite spell. Like we can do that. So you can, you know, if you have Eldritch Evolution, you get Eldritch Evolution an Elvish Mystic into a Squee. If you happen to draw Food Chains, then you Food Chain. Food Chain also in a deck that's heavy with creatures is also just, it's a ritual. Like, you know what I mean? You play your bird, you play your Llanowar Elves, you play your Bloom Tender, you tap them for mana, you use Food Chain to exile them to get yourself to play something like a Leer. So in a weird way, it kind of also acts as like a ritual in this deck. So we can kind of do stuff like that, which also gives us infinite Storm Count, which lets us do that. Another card that we could play, which I think would probably be good, Collected Company. Because once again, if we're going to play an infinite number of things, you then Collected Company, and that's going to get you to your final win con, because if your win con is creatures. Speaking of creatures, we can run this guy also. This combo is a little bit clunkier, but it's also in a weird way, it's kind of like Shrieking Drake. Because the other thing about like Shrieking Drake is even if you don't have Aluren, you can just pay 1 blue and just keep doing it. So let's say you draw Collected Company and you have a bunch of mana. You, before combat, you Shrieking Drake like 2 or 3 times, and then you attack with Storm, and then after that you play something, you play your Collected Company. So for every time you played Shrieking Drake, you're going to be able to collect a company. So it's kind of like you're always able to storm a little bit, and you're not relying on just like being able to draw cards. Like obviously we're in blue, so we're going to draw a lot of cards, but you know, not always. You can kind of burn out. And here's kind of something where it's like, if you just happen to draw a card that lets you bounce something, you can just, like a gating creature is what it's called. You can just gate it a bunch of times, and that's going to give you a bunch of storm count that you can then use to play a slightly bigger one. Now you could get yourself lopsided where you're in the other side, where it's like you don't have the spell that you want to play. So we're going to try to solve that one a little bit, and we're going to play Solve the Equation. And we're going to play Merchant Scroll. So we can grab Neoform. So Merchant Scroll gets us a Neoform. There's another gating creature, and it's, what is it called? It is, let's look it up. There's one that's blue. There's the Kavu. The Kavu is red and green. So we can do Kavu. It's a Kavu. Return hand, it's red, it's green. Hor Cabo, that's what it is. So this is just another gating creature. So it costs 2, you play it, it comes back. You can play it, you can play it, you can play it. Obviously not as efficient as Screeching Drake, but it does have this. So we can go with Hor Cabo here. Trailing here. Okay, while we're doing things like this, you know what else we can do? We can run Earthcraft. So with Earthcraft, whenever we're gating a creature, like if we're gating a Screeching Drake, we can use it to tap. So this is also just kind of like a learn with a Screeching Drake. You're able to use this to untap an island, to play it, to untap an island, to untap, to, you know what I mean? You just kind of keep going like that. Obviously, you can only target a basic land, so it's not going to be as amazing, but, you know, you run one basic island and your fetch lands and you search for it, and that kind of gets you to where it is. Okay, another card that we can run here is we can run Finale of Devastation. So, you know, we're doing stuff that's going to let us generate a ton of mana. We need to search for certain creatures, so we play Finale of Devastation to go get us the creatures that we need. So that can work pretty good. Hor Cabo also works pretty good here because we need other 2-drops that we want to sack to Neoform, because obviously our creature combo is 3. That's also kind of what drew me to this, is that I saw Veggie Wagon was talking about this, and he was talking about using Neoform with Storm. And the problem with Neoform is that you have to get creatures. When you sacrifice the creature and you Storm copy, they're all going to match it, so you're going to have to find creatures of the same mana cost, so it's like you need a combo that is able to do it with that. So that's why we kind of went with the 3. Another thing we can run is, do we add her in there? Bergie. Is Bergie in here yet? I don't think Bergie's in here yet. So Bergie with Grinning Ignus, once again, 2 3s here. That's infinite. That's infinite creatures right there. So you go Bergie, you go Grinning Ignus, and you're just able to play Grinning Ignus an infinite number of times, because every time you play it, you get a red, and then you use the red to bounce it, to play it, to bounce it, to play it, to bounce it, to play it, to bounce it, etc. Which once again gives you infinite storm count, which, you know, there we go, we're getting there. So this is kind of like my logic, is we're going to approach it from an angle where it's like you don't need to draw into it. You need to just get the things that you need, and then you run the like tutor spells and such that are gonna get you those things. Speaking of tutors, maybe we need to run a few more tutors. You know what I mean? Like we obviously want to run Mystical Tutor. Because this is gonna get us our Eldritch Evolution. It's gonna get us our Neoform. We can run Personal Tutor. Not the best, but it still gets the job done. Another creature that I'm thinking of that like I kind of like. Because we could run Impact Tremors, obviously, so whenever a creature comes into play, it's gonna deal damage. But if we could put that in another form in terms of like a creature, since that's kind of where we're going, we can kind of do this. And the other thing to note is obviously in cEDH, creature combos are a lot stronger because they're a lot harder to counter, because a lot of your counter spells are counter target non-creature spell. So if your combo is creature based, this can kind of be super helpful because you can kind of dodge a lot of counter spells. Also note that Lear, I can't remember if I mentioned this, he's kind of acting like a Grand Abolisher in the sense that like spells can't be countered. So you play him and then you Lava Dart from your graveyard, like, or you Eldritch Evolution and one of the creatures you get is Lear, and then you Gut Shot like from your graveyard, or you Lava Dart from your graveyard, and no one can do anything. Like you can't counter it. So the one thing I wish we had was a way to tutor up the enchantments a little bit better, because obviously Aluren is fantastic, but there's just no good way in these colors to tutor it up. Like that's the one thing about, like, we're missing black. So the hope is that the card draw can get you the cards that you need to be able to get that. Another good one, here we go. This seems like a good staple here, is Regrowth, you know? That's another fantastic target for Storm, because you can obviously return any card from your graveyard to your hand. So if you are kind of like stuck and you need to keep storming, you could do this. Or if once again you use something to interact with something on the board, you can then use Regrowth to put it back into your hand to be able to replay it. Or if you like Neoform in the before combat, and then you can Regrowth and then Neoform again. So if you need to get a 3-drop and then you need to get a 4-drop, like something weird has happened, you know what I mean? Like Witty Roastmaster got Source of Plowshare, then you need to go get Defiler of Instinct instead. You could go do that. So that'd be kind of one way to like work your way around a couple of options. But in general, like Regrowth is just a fantastic card. It's like, why would you want to play this in here? Burning Tree Emissary is also a good card. Speaking of things that were mana neutral, I had forgotten about that one. Let's get Burning Tree Emissary in here, because that is a mana neutral card. You play it, you get the mana, and then you can use that mana to do something else that seems pretty good. If you have Aluren, it's basically a ramp spell. You know, that just seems like high quality there to like just have that in there. It's also another 2-drop that we could Neoform to go get our 3-drops that we need. So that this actually is doing like all kinds of double duty. That was also my thinking with the Hor Cabo and the Dreamstalker. They both cost 2, so those are more Neoform targets there. So now our Merchant Scroll is getting better and better and better because now our Neoform is able to get us there faster and faster and faster. And we have Personal Tutor. And we have, yeah, so we have solved the equation. Yeah, that seems pretty good. Merchant Scroll is actually like doing lots of work now. I mean, do we want to run like a few more ramp spells also? Do we want to run things like 3 Visits and Nature's Lore? Like both those seem pretty good. You know what we should run? You know what I'm not thinking of that we should be running? We should be running as a backup. If our goal is to play infinite creatures, to go infinite to get infinite storm, we should just run Grapeshot. Because if Storm herself gets removed, we can just Grapeshot. So if we wind up getting the other pieces, we just Grapeshot and get what we need. It's like solve the equation. Like can grab us Grapeshot, Personal Tutor. All these tutors can get us Grapeshot. So if we find ourselves wonky, like you know what I mean? If we get Draneth Magistrated and we can't get Storm onto the battlefield, we have other paths to victory that are not necessarily needing to rely on our commander to get there. So now we have lots of ways to just go infinite, like infinite creatures, and then we just have a couple ways to like close out the game here. So, and that also works really good with Leer. So you Grapeshot, and then you are able to use Leer to like play the Grapeshot again from your graveyard. I don't know. I think I kind of like it. I like how my Teamer deck is basically it's basically a Gruul deck, but that's, as I said, that's just me. I'm not a heavy blue player. It's just kind of just not something that I do very often. We should run, okay, let's get some counter spells in here. Let's do Offer You Can't Refuse, because that could also act as a, whatchamacallit, a way to get infinite mana. Because you can, if the Offer You Can Refuse had Storm, could you technically counter every other one to get mana? I feel like you couldn't you? That seems like an absolutely silly thing to do, but in a weird way that would work. But this is also, in a weird way, it's a ritual, because if you need to just get an extra like Storm copy, you play something, you play like Mox Opal, and then you like Offer You Can Refuse, you counter your own spell. But obviously this is good, it's just a counter spell. Do we want Swan Song? I mean, Swan Song sure seems good. I haven't added Force yet because we don't have that many blue cards. I'm kind of hesitant to like actually run Force. I really don't like Pact of Negation. Lightning Bolt. Like, let's just kind of try to deal with the things on the floor here. You know what else I kind of want to run since we're doing like infinite storm stuff here? Like, this is a Rogsai meta. We need to be aware of these things, and we need to be running these cards that can kind of deal with this stuff. I mean, this is going to get us there. Let's just add this. Eternal Witness. So once again, if we need to Neoform, we can Eternal Witness and go get whatever we need out of our graveyard to be able to play. We could run like a mill spell. Like, we could run like a Brain Freeze that could then also hit everyone. Like, do we want to run Brain Freeze? Let's do that. Let's go down one land and run a Brain Freeze. We're already kind of going for Storm here, so let's go Brain Freeze. So that's another backup there. So if things kind of go wonky. Yeah, because if things go wonky, we're playing infinite creatures. So now we can just Brain Freeze everyone, and that gives us another out, which we can also now Merchant Scroll for. Boom, we got there. We did it. So we built a Storm deck that's not really a Spell Slinger deck. It's a little bit more like creature combo. I can't believe I forgot about this card. Birthing Pod! We need to search for creatures and get them out of the battlefield. Let's just play Birthing Pod. So that's another way to get there. So we can obviously turn any, just like Neoform, we can turn any of our 2-drops into a 3-drop. Obviously Neoform is the better card in this deck, but it's not the worst thing. You can note also you can Birthing Pod Storm into Leer. So if you had Birthing Pod, you swing with Storm, you get the pieces that you need. Like you go get your 3 creatures that let you do your 3 combos, and then you can Birthing Pod Storm into Leer and then play your Gutshot from your graveyard and win the game. So that's kind of another interesting line. So this thing just has lines all over the place. Like, then that's kind of the idea. It's just like, no matter what you draw, you should be able to kind of like get your combo built. You're obviously running a lot less interaction, because that's just not my style. I don't like on the stack interaction as much, which is part of why I'm not super into cEDH, because that's what that format is all over the place. But this gives you just like options everywhere to be able to find various different combos to get various different things going on and try to like just keep yourself in the game and kind of deal with your opponent's creatures as best you can. All right, so there's a couple more tutors we need. I wasn't totally thinking as I was building this. We need Gamble for sure, because that can get us anything. So that's our way to tutor for our enchantments there. So we're actually going to get rid of, I think, Micromancer. Where did Micromancer go? Oh, she already gone? Micromancer's already gone. Alright, we can get rid of Summoner's Pact then. Remove that. And then we need one more, which I had forgotten about. And I think what we want to add is Court of Calling. The same thing. You play this, and then if you can go search for 3, this is going to get you your combo or you're going to win. What do we want to remove for Court of Calling? Unreal, Screeching Drake, Tinder Wall. We had another iffy card in here. What was it? Like, I really don't like Pact of Negation. Like, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm removing it. Remove Pact of Negation. We'll keep our counter spells to a minimum here. So there we go. We will run Court of Calling. Now I think we're in a great spot. Now we have more tutors. We have more ways to get stuff. Court of Calling is also fantastic coming up a Storm. Gamble's great because one of the things you kind of use that like an intuition, where you can gamble and go get a you can either get a regrowth, you'll definitely get a regrowth, but you get an Underworld Breach, and then you get the things that you want, so no matter what happens, you would just wind up getting everything into your graveyard or into your hand. So Gamble seems absolutely fantastic. If you had like 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 copies of this, it seems amazing. There's a small part of this that says we should run 1 Thoracle in here, just because we have a couple ways that we can just completely empty our entire library, but I don't know. That's not really my style, so I'm not adding that now, but you would not be wrong to add a Thoracle in this deck because you're running the Brainstorm, you're running the Infinite, like, it's there. So, something to be said with that. You don't have Savine's Reclamation, so maybe it's not a good idea, but here we go. Now we got something. Now we got some more consistency. All right, so I made a couple more changes while I was thinking about this. One of the things is I made space for Deflecting Swat and Fierce Guardianship. They're just too good. Like, there's no way we shouldn't be running this, because if Storm's going to be our win con, we need to be able to protect her. I got Jessica's Will in here also. I don't remember what I cut it for. One big thing I did is I cut Merchant Scroll, and now I'm running Drift of Phantasms. You're using this just for the transmute. It's just a 3 mana tutor, but it gets anything that costs 3, which is pretty much all of your win cons, and it can also get you Food Chain, so that seems really good. So I actually really like that in here. So Drift of Phantasms instead of Merchant Scroll, because Merchant Scroll is really just to get Neoform, and honestly, Eldritch Evolution is the better spell, so I'd rather pay the 3 to get this than play Merchant Scroll to get Neoform. Granted, it costs 2 more mana, but I think this is the better play. Solve the equation, you can get any of it. This is obviously the superior, but the fact that Drift of Phantasms can get a creature, or it can also get Food Chain, seems pretty good, so if you're missing one of the pieces. Another spicy include, I added Radagast the Brown, just because I realized that I might find myself at a spot where you have Aluren and you have a gating creature, but you either can't get Storm out for some reason because of like the commander tax is too high or something like a Dranth Magistrate. So you can use Radagast the Brown to bounce a creature. So every time you play a creature, you look at the top cards of your library equal to the converted mana cost, and you put a creature into your hand that doesn't have the same creature type as something you have in play, which basically all your gating creatures don't share a creature type with anything else, so they're going to let you basically go grab everything. And then the 3 creatures you need for the combo don't share a creature type because it is a god, it is an elemental, and it is a devil citizen. So you just go and you get all those, and if you have a Aluren, that's game. So I think that works pretty great, and you're not drawing cards, so this isn't using like Beast Whisperer where you're going to get blown out by an Orcish Bowmaster. I think those are the main changes I made. I think that's kind of where we stand. I took out like Summoner's Pact because I realized that Court of Calling was better. I also have a crop rotation in here. Crop rotation seems pretty good. If you have nothing better to do, crop rotation with Storm seems fantastic because you sack a land and then you go get a bunch of land. So it's kind of like a ritual, but it's a ritual that's going to get you lands or get you like things for the next turn. And obviously you're going to run a Guy's Cradle in this deck, so it's going to get you a ton of mana. So that seems super fantastic. You could also get yourself the mountain. You need to flashback the Lava Dart if you need to win the game that way. So cool. Now I feel like we're good. Now I feel like we're in a good spot. Check it out. Let me know what you think. As I said, I took this one in a different direction. I'm really happy with it, but let me know what you think. Let me know if I'm crazy for this one, because I usually am. All right, have a good day.